You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Micah Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
And good morning. Beautiful Tuesday morning. Not really. Here in Palm Beach, the wind is blowing, clouds are out there, rain is falling off and on. It's a winter day. What can you expect? So what is our conversation going to be about today? Well, it's going to be about the virus. I'll be right back after this.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I went to the store yesterday, right here in Palm Beach, and I was rolling my cart along, and there was lots and lots of food on the shelves. Everything is perfect. Everybody's getting along. No one's afraid. No one's panicking until you get to the paper aisle. And there were a few empty shelves in the paper aisle. I said, I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to walk on by. Because this panic has taken control of common sense. It's taking control of individuals who have been through the flu, who have been through the swine flu, who have been through SARS, they've been through everything. The Chinese flu. We have been through almost everything in this country when it comes to the flu. And a lot of them originating from China. I remember when I was a kid. We got hit with the Chinese flu, and we were down for 2 weeks. But we didn't panic. We watched soap operas instead. Days of our lives. But we didn't go to the hospital. We didn't go see the doctor. We just did the normal thing to take care of a flu. Lots of water, cleaning ourselves. Just the same as what we should be doing right now. But there's a panic. Right now, supermarket shelves are empty. Masks and hand sanitizer are going out the door like gold dust. Sports games are being lost and won behind closed doors. People are no longer going to the games, or the schools and the universities are not allowing them to go. Schools, just this morning, Harvard announced that they were shutting down until March something. Said if you're on spring break, don't come back until March something. So they extended it just to see if they can get past this coronavirus. We've got companies telling people, hey, do your work from home. Try to do your work from home. We don't want you coming in here and getting exposed or exposing yourself to the rest of us. I think we've overdone it, people. We have really stretched this thing and listened to the people who don't know what they're talking about. We've listened to the news and the pundits, and every single moment they're coming online with who's died, who's got it, where it's at, what the states are doing, what the federal government is doing. And so what does that do? Well, it riles people up. It creates fear. Excuse me. And fear is the worst thing to have when you have a crisis. Let me tell you, I have gone through crises before in my company. And I'm telling you, you cannot show fear. You've got to address it and move forward. But you can't go into hiding. You can't do all this other stuff because the world of our lives has to continue on. We have lost almost $5 trillion since February when we first announced this SARS. $5 trillion. And it's affected me. I've looked at my money account the other day and saw that I have gone down. And I hate it when I see that. And I don't blame it on the President of the United States. But what I do blame it on is the media, because they've overplayed their hand on this. And they've created this riot of fear. And this riot of fear is doing no one no good anyway. Listen, all that we have to do, like with all of the other flus, is that we have to take precautions. And during the flu season, what do? We go in, we get our flu shots, we start drinking plenty of fluids, we start drinking a lot of vitamin C, we start washing our hands more. we do the hand fist. Yeah, we do that we've been doing that for years now with the common flu. And the common flu has killed hundreds of thousands of people. So right now it says that it's topped more than 100,000 worldwide, with more than 3,400 deaths. Now remember, these deaths are of the older community. They're the individuals who already have a health problem. They have pre-existing items that they need to, that is causing their immune system to be weaker than yours or ours. You and I, we're out there, we're walking, we're talking, we're doing our exercise, we're taking our vitamins, we're doing all that sort of stuff. But there are individuals who have heart conditions who, when a virus hits them, it affects their breathing in their lungs, and it turns into pneumonia very quickly. So those kinds of individuals we have to watch very closely, just like how we saw in the state of Washington, where in that one skilled nursing facility there were several reported individuals who had this virus. But we cannot, listen, we are going to survive this, so we cannot panic. This panic stuff is for the birds. The airline industry is being affected, the hotel business is being affected, the convention business is being affected. And I want you to know that, and it was a good point that was brought up on Twitter this morning. The conservative conference that was held 2 weeks ago, that had over 10,000 people, none of them got sick. So you had a big convention of 10,000 people, and not one individual came down with this coronavirus. So this is what I really feel, is that the media has really done a disservice to our nation. It's affected our lives, it's affected our work lives, it's affected our family life, it's affected our travel life, it's affected our financial life, because they want to build something up and do damage. At this point in time, I have a strong, sneaking suspicion that they wanted to do this because they know that they could drive the markets down, they could people to fear, and they would blame it upon the president. So I really feel that the media has really done a disservice to this nation. And it continues on every single day. And so I'm going to ask you, don't listen to them. Continue on with your lives. Use the proper health care precautions. Wash your hands thoroughly. Take your vitamin C's. Do what you need to do. But go on with your daily lives. This is nothing to panic about. I'm telling you that in a panic, you do not panic. I mean, in a crisis, you do not panic. You just don't. Now, there are going to be some people that are. And those are the weak people who listen but don't use any common sense. They have no desire to use their brain just a little bit. Look at the statistics out there on the flu and all the other viruses that are floating out there in this world of ours. All the deaths that come from the daily flu that we get. And understand that a little bit of common sense means that you have to take some precautions. You have to do something. You have to do something. And if you don't, then you're just going to be sitting there stewing about nothing. You're going to be sitting there in front of your TV, and you're going to be listening to CNN, and those guys are going to come on the air every few minutes talking about this disease and how terrible it is and everything else. But they never did anything when the flu every single year kills thousands of people. They certainly didn't do anything with SARS. They certainly didn't do anything with the swine flu and all these other things. They didn't do anything. They just reported it maybe once a day. And that was about it. But now, because we have this 24 hour, 7 days a week news cycle, these individuals are trying to get more people watching their show. And they know by fear and scare, they can draw certain people in. The individuals who are older, who are sitting there in front of, my parents were really bad at this. They would sit there and watch that news all day long. They're very seldom getting up. And they would stew, and they would get upset, and they would get mad, and that's what the media has become. It's no longer a media that provides us with very little value. Very little value. Its whole purpose is to drive fear, because they have an agenda also, and that is to sell at higher rates so that they can make more money. And then we have to also look at some of the politicians who made this a political issue. Schumer and Pelosi, even to this day, are still making it a political issue. Which kind of drives home the point that, do they really care about the American people, or are they more concerned about the power that they want to keep and want to have? Listen, I think the president has done a terrific job. It's not his fault that this virus started. We have no control of what happens in China. None of us do. Even the president doesn't. All that he can do now is to respond to an issue and work on containment and working on a cure or vaccination for this virus. Now, we have 2 strains of this virus out there. It is split off. But that's what happens with the flu, too. We have several different strands of flu. It builds, gets weaker. We have a nation at the moment that needs to forget about the crisis of this day. And for the sake of your company and long-term health, break out of the state of fear in this feeling of paralysis that is gripping the world, and focus on nurturing the kind of productivity that will see you through to the other side. That's what you have to do. We are not going to sit here. I was thinking about this as I was taking a shower. I get my best thoughts in the shower. But I was thinking, you know what? When the settlers came from the East Coast to the West Coast, now they had no medicines back then whatsoever. But they went from the East to the West in covered wagon. And it took them months to get out here. And they had to go through the worst traveling conditions ever, facing hard winters, coming down with smallpox and measles and mumps and the flu and everything else. But they didn't stop them. They kept on going until they finally made it to where they wanted to settle. These were strong people. These were Americans. These were the individuals who were willing to take the risk to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, or in between, for a new life, to get land of their own, to settle where they wanted to raise their families and build communities. And they were faced with all of these conditions, and yet they made it through. Those are what Americans were all about. Now I think we've become a bunch of pansy wastes, and we're so afraid of even our shadow. because we listen too much to the media. I remember when I was young, my mom used to always tell me this story. And it was about the settlers coming from the east to the west coast. And this one lady decided to wear an onion around her neck. And she wore that onion all the way from one side of the nation to the other side. Not one time did she get sick. So when she got to the other side, she says, you know what, onion, you have been so good to me. You have kept me well. You've kept me healthy. I've made it to my homeland. So she cut the onion open and she ate it and she died. That's how the story goes, I'm afraid. We have no control over these viruses that come upon us. Sometimes it becomes a crisis, but we can manage crisis. If the settlers can make it from the east to the west coast in old covered wagons with very little to keep them warm, going through the mountains, getting hit with snow and rain, getting hit with all kinds of flus and viruses. But they made it through, and they made it to the west coast because they were strong in spirit. They had the willpower to make it through. The most successful people in this world are those that have grit. Grit is a very important aspect of being a strong person. If you don't have grit, you're going to be that old person sitting in front of the TV panicking. So I'm asking you Americans out there as you listen to this podcast, do you have grit? Are you going to cling to your grit? Are you going to use your grit? Are you going to get up and go and face this head on? Or are you going to be a weakling sitting there listening to CNN News broadcast how many people have died, or how many people are sick, or how this is affecting the markets? And those of you on Wall Street, I see no grit. I do not know what you're doing, but you've affected my investment accounts. I have gone down a lot. I looked at it this morning and I'm pissed off because Wall Street panics and they have no grit. They panic and they don't care how it affects the rest of the nation. Wall Street are wimps and they have no grit. They panicked. They thought, oh, there's no supply chain, there's nothing. No, this supply chain's out there. It's working very well right now. The hospitals around this nation are responding and containing this virus. They're taking care of the sick. They're responding to the needs of the American people. The one entity that is creating this panic is the media. Fox does it, CNN does it, MSNBC does it, NBC, CBS, ABC, all of them are sitting there saying, what can we do to panic the people of the United States? I put the whole blame on them. Get out of this panic mode, America. Roll up your sleeves, get out there and do your job, create new businesses. Invest well. You can buy some good stock at the moment for cheap prices. Travel prices are down. Gas is down. Everything's down to make it worth your while to get out there in this world of the United States. Get out there. Do your thing. Stop this panicking. Our settlers are. The American settler is sitting up there in heaven and he's looking down and he's saying, my gosh, what kind of people did we raise? What kind of people came out of us? I mean, look at them. They're crying, they're moaning, they're groaning, they're panicking, they're buying toilet paper by the hordes. Which I don't know why you're buying toilet paper. I don't get that one. Food, yes. Baby food, yes. Diapers, maybe, yes. But toilet paper? Is that what happens now when people panic? Is they go for the toilet paper? What has America become? You've become wimps. I'm flying to California later this week. Not scared. I'm not panicking. I'm going to get on that plane, get over to California, do my business with my client, get back on the plane and come back. But I'm not going to panic. I think I'm part of the settlers. I have the American settlers' grit in my heart. What do you have in your heart? Is it fear and panic? Get over it. Stop being a wimp. Listen, if you have any comments or questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Let's get on with our lives. We're Americans. We have the settler spirit in our hearts. We're willing to take a risk. We're willing to get out there and do something. Only the weak will sit there with panic on their breath. Not me. Come on, Americans. Let's show what grit we have, because we've got a lot of gumptions. This is when you got to start using those kind of words, grit and gumption and get up and go. We're Americans. Let's prove to the rest of the world that we're Americans. Let's get it done. I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content and grit.